I'm DustinTheCade, and welcome to Beans, Rice, and Beyond. On today's episode, we'll cook our first recipe, a pot of beans. Beans offer a great deal of fiber and protein, and less gas than you would think if you soak them the way that I tell you to. Beans can be made hundreds of different ways, and nearly every culture has some type of staple bean recipe. Today, we'll make a very basic American-style pinto beans with a few enhancements that I always like to add to mine. It's difficult to make a bad pot of beans as long as you take your time and use your nose and your eyes and a taste test to guide you. On Beans, Rice, and Beyond, I will rarely measure anything. I'll give approximations, but you need to smell your ingredients, learn how they taste, and estimate how they're going to affect the dish that you're adding them to. With spices, especially dried ones, a little tends to go a long way, so err on the side of caution. It's a lot easier to add flavor later than to take it out. Enough talk though. I'm getting hungry, and this pot of beans is going to take all day to cook. To soak the beans before cooking, you'll need at least 1/2 pound of dried beans, a container that will hold the beans once they've doubled in size, and a little bit of kosher salt helps. Many people don't add salt. Other people add baking soda. Empty your dry beans into your container, checking for rocks, sticks, dirt, and any broken or misshapen beans. Because I live alone, I usually only cook around 1/2 pound at a time. That will give me about 4 meals. Rinse the beans and discard the rinse water. Once the beans have been thoroughly rinsed, add 3 or 4 cups of water to every 1/2 pound of beans. I like to add a good heavy pinch of salt. Cover the container and let the beans sit to soak for 6 to 8 hours. Once they've soaked, you'll see they've doubled in size. Drain the soaking water from these beans and rinse it off of them. Once again, look for any sticks, rocks, misshapen, or broken beans and discard them. Many people cook beans in a stock pot. I prefer them from a crock pot. It takes longer, but I like the results much better. Add your freshly rinsed and soaked beans to the pot. Remember, do not cook your beans in the soaking water. I start with about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And because I will not be adding bouillon or soup base to this recipe, I'm going to add another 1/2 teaspoon. If you're adding bouillon, omit this 1/2 teaspoon. A few heavy grinds of black pepper. This is your basic bean recipe. As long as you covered the beans in water at this point, they would taste great. You could skip straight ahead to where we cover the beans with water and begin cooking. But if you want to know my favorite way to make a pot of beans, continue adding ingredients with me. About 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. There's no need to measure these ingredients. Just eyeball it. A dash of basil, a healthy dash of marjoram, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of onion powder, or a little fresh onion, about 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder, or some fresh sauteed garlic, a heavy dose of cumin. I use about 1/2 teaspoon. Though it looks like I'm using a lot of chili powder, it's not coming out and is caking in the lid. I only use about 1/4 teaspoon in this recipe. A good dash of oregano. Hot sauce adds great flavor to any recipe. In small doses, you will not notice the spice. I always add fat to my beans. Here I'm adding about a half teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. You could add bacon, ham, or a bone of some sort. Cover the beans with fresh, cool water to the depth of at least 1 knuckle, which is really about an inch. A little too much water is never going to hurt. But always check your depth. That makes it. Check a few more spots. Cover, and in the crock pot, cook on high for 4 to 6 hours or on low for 6 to 8. After 8 hours on low, these beans are perfect. They're tender, a deep hearty brown, and they taste and smell wonderful. I like to serve these over rice or cornbread. I also add a little bit of extra salt, hot sauce, and a healthy dose of chili powder to my beans. An 8-hour soak followed by at least 4 hours of cooking seems like it takes forever to wait on one meal, but the individual steps only take a few minutes each. Even better, this recipe tends to feed me, a big fellow, 3 or 4 times. Refrigerate the leftovers in a sealed container and they'll last a few days. Like many soups, stews, chilies, beans often taste best after they've cooled and been reheated. That's all for this episode of Beans, Rice, and Beyond. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you saw and share it with your friends. Subscribe to my channel so you never miss an episode. And in the comments, suggest future topics or tell me the secret ingredient to your favorite bean recipe. So I'll see you next Wednesday for another edition of my vlog and right back here on Friday for a new episode of Beans, Rice, and Beyond. I'm from Texas and we eat pots of beans all the time. Today we will Wait, give it a minute, man. Give it just a minute. Clap and then talk. Clap, pause, talk. Clap, move hands, pause, talk. Okay. I eat a lot. I eat a lot. I eat a fucking lot. That's how I got this damn big.